Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, I have 2 birds to kill today and 1 stone to do it. Let's get to it. So I got my hydraulic flow divider valve coming in the mail. Should be here in a couple of days for that. So I kind of want to get moving in that thing. See if I can get it to steer. Now, with that being said, the other thing that's wrong with it, which I guess at this point I can only speculate, but the hoses are disconnected, and that's the orbital motor way up inside the cab there behind the steering wheel. So that's bird number 1. Oil and filters and fuel filters on this is bird number 2. So I figured, well, I'm waiting for my jug of oil to warm up in the house because I forgot to put it in there last night. That could take a while. I'm going to get the oil and the filter drained out of this guy. Well, this is draining and that's warming up. I'm going to go see if I can pull that orbital off of the 1800 there, and maybe things will just work out. Seems like my luck has been okay in the last little while, so let's just get after it here, guys. All right, let's get this going now. Yes, I understand that I should have did this the other day when I had it warmed up and I didn't, and now I'm kicking myself and I don't feel like warming it up, so I got time to let that drain. I don't need this tractor right at the moment, so if it takes half the day, so be it. No big deal. Size is that? 1/16". That's what I thought it was. I think that's why I bought this socket. Just for doing oil changes on all these Massey tractors. There we go. We'll just set that guy right there. I guess might as well leave that by too. I need to do that later. Okay, so there's that. Let's get the oil filter off and then just leave this be. There, let's see. So that way, this way. Let's get this guy. Oh my goodness. That's on there with a vengeance. Come on. Okay, good. I can't say as I've ever felt an oil filter that was on with that kind of strength. Yeah, whatever. It's coming off. I'm gonna leak everything everywhere. Doubt it. How's that supposed to work? Whose bright idea was this? You gotta come out of there. There we go. Okay, let me go get the good filter. Okay, I'll just... Again, how is that supposed to... There's no trick that I read in any book that says how this is supposed to work, but maybe that's why that filter was... I don't know. This is the dumbest thing I've seen all day. But the day is young yet, and I'm sure I'll get my day ruined for me some other way. All right, well, it's on there. That looks like a quarter of a turn after the gasket seals. Perfect. All right, let me wipe this off and we'll get on to the other job. Yeah, like I said, guys, I got to operate on that steering orbital. Seems like if I take those 4 bolts out right there around the steering wheel, that unit should probably fall out of there or fall down a little bit so I can see what's going on. Make some more assessments before I actually get down and lay down in the oil and dirt here and see what's actually happening. So I guess, oh, jeez, I'm gonna fall down here. Let me go round up an Allen wrench and see if I can get the steering wheel set up off and go from there. Simple. 4 Allen bolts. Bang, 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 bang. Push the steering wheel down. Give it one of these. Orbital motor pops right off. Nothing to it. Now, guys, looking at this, let's get him back out of the way here. This looks to be a pretty common, simple orbital motor that actually probably If any of you guys are into mud bog trucks or whatever, mega trucks, a lot of you are using these orbital motors and that orbital steering to turn those. So I don't think there's going to be any trouble finding an orbital motor for this. Tractor's been sitting a long time with a lot of parts removed. So the bad thing about that is I don't know what's really wrong. The good thing about that is this tractor's only got 4 parts to the whole steering system. You've got the ram. I'll adjust that if necessary. The pump, which those either work or they don't. And if it doesn't, I do have a spare pump that I bought for my 1805 and didn't need. So problem solved. Flow divider valve, which goes on the other side of this firewall, which this tractor was missing, gone completely altogether. Had a guy send me an email with a picture. Perfect. Works out. He's got that in the mail coming my way right now. So I'm kind of hoping I can have all this tied together. And finally, the orbital motor. So again, guys, steering is pretty simple on these old turds. So if I change this, I'll have a new valve. That covers at least 50% of the problems I could run into. Let me go dig up a wrench and see if I can pop these 2 hoses off of here. Let's see if I can get this to... Yeah, there we go. Got that one loose. And he's going to have to be out of the way before I can get the other one off anyway. So we'll get that out of the road up here. So that'll tell me that whether I use this motor or not, it was the upper one. Of course, I guess I could just revert right back to this video. I'll get her, guys. Don't worry about me. Future reference. Upper. Cracked hose was the lower. This hose behind the clutch is the exit. The steel line going in is the inlet. Part of hard to screw that one up, but I'm sure if there's a way, I'll find it. So, all right. Well, dang, that actually went a little smoother than I thought it was going to go. Even the little wins are still wins, guys. There. Orbital motor. Well, there, guys. Orbital's out. Let's get back to the task at hand here. That is probably dripped just about all that it's going to. That's good enough there. I went ahead and plugged in the block heater because once I get these 2 changed and bled out, well, might want to try and start it, and she's 15 degrees outside. Ain't going to start like that now, is it? Yeah, that old oil looks pretty bad. Well, hopefully this oil's been warmed up enough now where it'll actually flow in there fairly well. We shall see. Maybe it's not as warm as I first hoped. Maybe we'll get them fuel filters off while we're doing this. You know, guys, I try to multitask as best I can. Some days are better than others. All right, back to this. Now, guys, these aren't too bad to change. There's only a couple things you got to watch out for. They got these glass bowls on the bottom, so you got to be careful how tight you get them. No big deal. I like to keep a little drain pan handy just so I don't get fuel all over everything, even though I'm still going to get fuel all over everything. Some of these have a drain spigot on the bottom. Well, that one kind of does, but it's not really, it doesn't really work that great. There you go. Tremendous. Get all that out of there. Nice. Fuel filter to unglue itself. Let me just set that down. There we go. Guys, I'm going to show you something here that it's very important to pay attention to. You see these nice Cav OE type filters? They've got all these holes in the top. So it's hard to screw up. The fuel can go right in, get filtered, come back out like it's supposed to. Easy peasy. Let me show you something that you're going to find interesting. And maybe you already know this. So let's have a look at one of these nice top-of-the-line quality Wix filters. You got to be careful where you put your O-rings. You see where the fuel goes in here? Now it's very easy to set an O-ring in here, not thinking. You're in a hurry, you're doing stuff, whatever. Your tractor will never start if it can't get the fuel in. So just be aware of that if you're doing Wix filters. Not that there's anything wrong with the filter, guys. It's just, you know, one more thing to watch for. Let's see. So we got the, and again, it is kind of hard to screw up because the O-ring does fit right into the top of the canister here. But again, not saying it isn't possible to make that mistake. Just, you know, just because I care. That's all I'm saying. And goodbye. Okay, stab him back up in there. You got a little O-ring right here. Let's get him changed. And there's that. Lovely, I like it. Let's set him on the ground. Okay. There. Bowl back on. I'm going to give the bowl a wipe out too, because I might as well. There's that. So 1, 2. There's that one. This guy back in place here. And again, guys, you don't have to get these super tight. I'm sure there's a torque spec on it, but I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to lie and tell you that I do. But I'm just going to tighten it down. You want to hear a funny story? Sure you do. So about 4 years ago or whatever, yeah, about that time, I was doing my very first big YouTube video. My Will It Start on my old 1100 I had. And I was putting fuel filters on that because when I got that tractor, everything was missing from the fuel filter. So, yeah, had to change them. Well, had to put them on. And, you know, I was just starting out on YouTube, and some of the comments were not the friendliest, let's say. Let me ditch this. So some guy, because there's a lot of keyboard geniuses out there. And hey, maybe he's onto something that I don't know, but I mean, didn't make much sense to me. He said, those fuel filters don't need to be bled. Okay. And he proceeded to tell me that if I fill them with fuel before I put them on, then I wasted all my time hitting the primer button on the start or on the fuel pump to start it. Well, whoever you were, I don't remember now. Just to be perfectly clear, if we're talking about one of these fuel filters like goes on my 1800 and my 1805, sure, yeah, fill that up, screw it on, probably will work just fine. But if you have a Massey tractor that the model number starts out in 11, you're not going to fill that with any type of fuel and expect that there's going to be any left in it when you get it on. It's just, I mean, I'm not a great man, but if you can fill this filter up and get it to hold fuel until you put it in, you're a better man than me. Let's get back to it. There we go. Attaboy. But I had to laugh. I thought, really? Just fill the fuel filter with fuel before you put it on? Okay. Right on that one, buddy. Thanks for the info. Well, since you watched me do the first one, let me get this one done and let's go put some more oil in this thing. Hey, what, guys? I'm guessing this one's been on here since the turn of the century, because it's really, really on there. and it's really, really dirty. I bet you this runs like a whole new tractor when I get her back together. And I didn't think it ran that bad to begin with. But again, you know, fill these up with fuel before you put them on. Yeah, okay, buddy. Let me get the new filter on there. Get that snugged up nice. Not too tight. I kind of like that. Okay, now I'm going to take that bleeder loose, start pumping the heck out of this thing, and she'll probably, hopefully, maybe, if I've got this much luck, fire right up. There, we'll just take that loose. Now you watch, fuel will start filling both of these, and then once it comes out the top, I'll tighten it back up. There's one. Kind of thought it would go to the second one, but it didn't do that. So let's try this. Okay, so I've got this filter full. This filter is not full yet, but I'm going to crack. This is an outlet here. I'm going to crack that. Keep pumping this till I start getting fuel out of there. Tighten that up. Loosen that. Tighten that back up. Keep pumping it. And I think I'm going to have it all set. All right, now I'm just going to play the game. Okay. So I'm going to keep doing this until I don't get bubbles out of it anymore. That looked like solid fuel to me. I like that. Okay, well, I suppose let me finish filling the crankcase up and maybe we'll give this thing a crank and see what she says. Well, one last thing while I'm waiting here. And on a side note, the first 10 quarts went in pretty easy because they were in the house. The last 2 to 2.5 that were out here, we're still waiting on those. So don't want to forget the air filter. If I'm doing a maintenance on this tractor, might as well hit all good points. I'm not going to get super crazy with this. I'm just going to give it a puff, put it back in. That'll be just fine. So that ain't too bad. That ain't too bad, guys. I've seen filters look a whole lot worse than that. Good enough for me. Make sure there's nothing inside. There. Let me check that oil and we'll fire this baby up. All right, well, I guess let's open up the door, cross our fingers that I bled that good enough and it just fires right up and stays running for 5 minutes, and I'll go on to something new. You dumbass. Unhook both handles. Jesus. Some days. enough, but we're gonna try it anyway. That's a little thing I like to call a successful day. So guys, not only did I get a little service work done, we're one step closer to driving that 1800. So I suppose that's going to do it for me today. I got to round up another part. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Yeah, everything went well today. I think I'll have a beer. Hey babe, you want to bring me a beer too?